Angry Joe charged into Supergirl swinging, and now he's the one stuck in full panic. So for weeks, Angry Joe told everyone that doubting Supergirl made you a woman-hating misogynist, and that take destroyed itself overnight. So the hilarious part is watching Angry Joe still frame Supergirl as the brave and stunning hill he swore he would die on. So basically his entire crusade for Supergirl absolutely backfired, and Angry Joe slid into a slow motion meltdown, over it. And then Angry Joe finally sat through Supergirl, and the public losing it is kicking off. So Joe launched his defense of this film before a single frame had leaked, where he met every doubter with the same charge that they were bitter grifters terrified of a woman headlining a comic book movie. First and foremost, men who are comic book fans are not angry at women being heroes and stuff, or the lead character and stuff. Wonder Woman starring Gal Gadot proved that and stuff, but he basically brought across half the commentary space, slung the word misogynist like confetti, and crowned himself king of the moral high ground, basically. So he turned an ordinary summer release into a loyalty test and dared his audience to flunk it. So his swagger held firm right until the lights dropped and the projector rolled. Millie Alcock lit the whole thing herself in the press interview, as you all remember, musing that Kara might go both ways. That one stray line ate the discourse for 2 solid weeks. Defenders insisted it carried no weight and never reached the final cut. So while the skeptics waved it around as proof, the studio led with identity and stapled the plot on later. Joe planted himself in the who cares lane and smeared everyone who raised it as a bad faith culture warrior. So that interview frenzy gutted the film's reputation faster than any critic could. So yeah, the embargo broke and the scores exposed everyone. Okay, Rotten Tomatoes settled near about 56 to 57% and stuff for any film across the rebooted DC universe. Critics saluted Alcock by name and then gutted everything built around her. Okay, so basically, Variety swung a blow that bounced across the internet, tagging it a comic book movie cursed with maybe the worst script the reviewer could call. So the friendly outlets reached for that same language, and the misogynist alibi fell apart in public. The ticket sales also echoed the reviews beat for beat. Basically, trackers once eyed a domestic opening near 55 million and watched it bleed, toward 45 million as the week wore on, with the global debut stalling between 80 and 90 million. A tentpole of this price is heavily marketed reads those figures as a quiet catastrophe. Reporters slotted it beside, Wonder Woman 1984 within hours. The company every DC boardroom dreads. The crowd voted at the register and the tally came back ice cold. Okay, so basically, I'm expecting for this to, stay on the floor and everything, right? And the film dug straight through it. Okay, so the plot actually drags through a galactic revenge road trip, basically. And yeah, every emotional beat held together by writing that flips from quippy to incoherent mid-scene. And a murdered family, dying superdog, and a tag-along kid basically all crowd the screen with zero setup to earn a tear. This is what I heard from different reviews and spoilers and stuff. I didn't see the movie. I'm not planning to see it either. But basically, a lot of people had scores stuck in the teens and it stayed planted there. Okay, so everyone also talks about how Jason Momoa stumps in as Lobo and recycles his loud bad boy routine, also amusing, basically in a vacuum, and worthless to a script clueless about using him. Crypto, the superpowered dog hauled over from last year's Superman, gets shoehorned in for cheap heartstring tugs and sours into one of the most grating pieces on screen. The villain is also forgettable, and that almost earns applause, even that's given the talent attached. And every big swing the movie takes whiffs clean or thuds basically into a workable film, okay, that sits buried inside the premise, and this cut shovels dirt over it. Angry Joe finally sat through Supergirl and admitted on camera that it was a flawed mess, basically. Okay, so the Supergirl review Angry Joe landed almost dead center on the spot the so-called grifters had marked all along. Angry Joe had staked his whole reputation on Supergirl, and the movie repaid him with 2 straight rage videos where with every defense Angry Joe built for Supergirl crumbled the second the credits rolled. No victory lap waited for Angry Joe because, well, Supergirl never handed him one, all right? So here's the clip in question where he's begging people to go ahead and watch the film.
And I hope it does well. Please go out and support it. Please go out and support it. Go out and support your boy, okay? You go out and watch the movie, you're supporting what your boy likes and making me happy, okay?
All right, and this is him with basically a photo, an image that was taken of him on his review talking about it. And yeah, here's a clip from that review.
Film, and then I just saw the Zack character doesn't make me automatically love the film, and then I just saw the Zack Snyder haters was really making me depressed, like they were just wanting this movie to fail and wanting it to be bad, and I kind of want to stick it to them for them to be good, but I have to tell you my honest character.
Yeah, basically he didn't really just he just yeah, basically he didn't, that didn't go well for him. So Joe hauled him half the commentary space down with him as he sank, where he swung at Neurotic, at Critical Drinker, Disparu, at Geeks and Gamers, at anyone who breathed the word mediocre near this film. So he stamped them lackeys and grifters and accused them of hating women for sport. His own verdict then clicked, into and perfect lockstep with theirs. Brand people frauds for weeks over a rain forecast and your own umbrella gets awkward fast. Angry Joe defended the Supergirl brand long before he ever checked the product himself. Angry Joe chased the more glow of shielding, Supergirl from the internet's ugliest instincts, basically, okay? And the studio handed Angry Joe a Supergirl far too flimsy to carry that weight, and Angry Joe himself molded Supergirl into a loyalty test of his own making, a fight he crowned himself winner of before even the credits. Okay, so now Angry Joe just owns basically the chore of explaining why his beloved Supergirl matches the flawed mess everyone flagged. Now every launch this run drives the identical playbook into the ground. Okay, modern Hollywood keeps shackling its female-led superheroes basically, or it's female-led stories to a wagon load of identity politics and stuff, okay? And self-congratulation crowds catch the scent in the trailer and drudge and worn out by lecture clipped into their ticket. Alcock had the range to carry a strong film if her handlers had backed the character over the messaging. They drafted a sermon and misplaced the story under it. So Millie Alcock leaves this wreck with her hands clean, where she carries real talent and stuff. She owned the screen as Kara and sharp a script with the director who cared would have handed her a role or outright. That's what people are saying, and the movie knifes her at every turn through the writing, the close-ups, and the framing. They yanked a rising star fresh off of House of the Dragon and lashed her to a sinking ship where she earned a launch pad and caught a cannon aimed at the dirt, basically, okay? So basically, the genre runs on autopilot now, plain and simple. The DC reboot vowed a clean slate and stuff and a fresh grab at the Goodwill, the last regime torch, then piled up the same mix to ugly launches that drowned the old era. Okay, so basically, each release struts out behind a press tour, pinning the sour mood on critics. Each one underperforms and slips into a quiet grave dug by the same defenders and stuff who swore it would change everything. Okay, so the reputation stands as a headline now, and a month of credibility burned off while Angry Joe stood guard over Supergirl. You see, Angry Joe insulted half the internet, and Supergirl sided with every last one of them anyway. Supergirl will just hobble through its run, and Angry Joe gets to watch it melt into streaming by fall. All right. So the lesson Angry Joe skip runs older than the internet. The one about never planting your flag on a Supergirl you haven't seen. Confidence runs cheap, and Supergirl proved Angry Joe paid the full price for his. So yeah, basically Angry Joe held a clean, simple role on Supergirl the entire time. A patient watch and an honest read would have left Angry Joe whole, and Supergirl would have stayed just another review on the pile. Instead, Supergirl became the footnote that exposed how fast Angry Joe lets a culture war reflex bulldoze his judgment. So yeah, other people claim, even in the comments of my videos, and he even himself saying, watch the movie first and defend it second, and no Supergirl ever curdles into an apology tour like Angry Joe. So that runs the whole game for Angry Joe and the Supergirl alike. So that land as my final word, basically. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.